Everybody, this will be an update on what happened to Eric, aka Somnus Dreadwood. As well, we're going to be going over a few misconceptions. So, Eric was branded solely for and exiled for the relics issue. When I was with him a year ago, I was on his ass constantly about the relics. It was no, he never sent anything out. It was always this kind of hot, cold bullshit, but it was for the reason for his struggle was his ex-wife, who was a Catholic. He had child support and alimony and all that other bullshit. To make matters worse, Somnus's son was being abused and molested while in his ex-wife's care. At that time, we had picked up his son, Sylvan. He had bruises. He had bruises all on him and was bleeding and all this other shit. So he immediately went to child protective services and the police. So he always arrived with a body cam on, which helped his case. They took all the pictures of his son, gave him copies, and kept his son away from her. It was a long court battle. So, despite him having so much evidence against her, he still lost the case. He had weeks to prepare for the case. He could have been performing, any number of rites to win the court case as he's done in the past. But he was so fucking distraught on what happened when he lost that case. It pretty much broke him. It put him in a position to where he had blamed himself for the loss in court. And I saw him go through every stage of grief, depression, rage. He just became more volatile. He took it out on everyone, lashed out at everyone, including myself. So I'm the one who had his back the most. I even saved his life. I stopped him from committing suicide on multiple occasions when he found out what was happening to his son. He lashed out at me and our elders. This is when they told me I would have to become the next AGM. They said, this is why we've been having him pass on the knowledge and everything to you. About the towers, the lore, and I was being trained for that position. Near the end, I went through my initiation with them, and they were right, because they were right not to trust him, because after making the announcement, he removed the books off of Amazon, which had the collective works of me and others. We made available for free as well with the PDFs. He then took down the website. I made a new one from the ground up. And at that point, I knew what was coming next. It was the shared YouTube channel. So I pretty much backed up most of my videos and private ritual videos for my clients and my private teaching curriculum for students. But because he chose to report a shared YouTube channel I made and shared with students, this was what he was doing. Despite everything, I was pissed off about it, but I understood his grief and pain, what was going on with his son, and why he would send out some relics or forget, because I guarantee you, if your child was being abused and molested, the last thing on your mind is serving other people. His son, to this day, is still trapped in a situation because family court disproportionately rules against men. So apparently Christian is still out of his rabbit ass mind. He made the mistake of trying to fucking blackmail me to Imperator Cain. So he recently stated, oh, if you don't pay what Eric allegedly owed him, he was going to attempt to slander me. So I don't know what delusional fucking world that boy lives in where he thought that was going to work. I mean, this is why people like Robert Vandegrift, who also had left during Eric's struggle, denounced Christian in the video. He said their goal was to spread as much slander as possible to get us to take down our shit. But Eric took down all of this shit because it was being used against him in court when he actually didn't really have to. When he was going through all of this shit, she kept constantly hurling his fucking religion in court. And I have the screenshots to prove that as well. You know, she was turning on the crocodile tears. You know, he had deleted and shared the shared YouTube channel and began lashing out at me and everyone else when he was at his worst. Especially since, you know, I argued with him to do a video before I was promoted, and when we parted ways, he made that so-called self-exile video. His ex-wife also attempted to bring that to court, and he blamed me for making him put the video up. So, but yeah, all of that shit was because of, you know, crackshack fucking Christian. So let me address the other bullshit as well. Nicholas Castro, he was sold ritual items and a reading. He received those, but when you sell someone ritual tools to empower themselves, they have to do the fucking work themselves. So he had a little tantrum when I refused to accept any more orders from him due to me find out he confessed to me that he was sending Christian my shit. After that, I refused any more work from him. You can see the screenshots in the link attached. The reviews he actually left. He wanted more work, but I refused. I refused to give him any more work. I refused to accept any orders, any money. But you can see from the reviews, he praised the work I did do. Christian doesn't realize slandering a business is the very reason if I chose to take it to that place, it isn't going to get thrown out. But we'll get to that at another time. I wanted to discuss some other bullshit of why they're dumb enough to think we're a D&D cult, or that the entities originate from D&D, and why Eli Mercury was saying a bunch of crazy shit. You've heard my opinions already in the public groups and website on quantum imagination channeling as well. Humans are born part of a collective consciousness. Every inventor, every artist, every author channels from when they write. In Measure I, you understand that humans innately pull from things that exist in some form or fashion throughout the multiverse. Like how I mentioned with H.P. Lovecraft years ago. He had his problems and prejudice, and he ripped off the Al-Hazif. You know, the original story, what was later called, you know, Lovecraftian sorcery or Lovecraftian fiction. But he did have a genuine connection to these entities despite them being regarded as fiction. He could tell about the world they were from and the things he was seeing. People call them now based on his works, which is, again, largely regarded as fictional. You have to realize media and entertainment will use anything from their stories, such as D&D. I've never played the fucking D&D games at all, but I've managed to research it enough. And like I said in earlier videos, I don't see him demonizing anything else that's actually in that game. Like, I don't see him demonizing goetic sorcery because Asmodeus is in D&D as well. I don't see him demonizing draconic sorcery because Tiamat is in it. Like in some of the oldest games I've read, she was also a fucking encounter, you know, as well in many other games, as well as like Neverwinter. So many games have depicted either Satan or some other demonic depiction in it. Hell, even my ancestral practices got reduced to being a class in video games like Diablo or D&D, but they'll change it to something like Witch Doctor. But that's the other reason, that's one of the reasons he has that. This D&D cult myth is because people work with various forms of fae as well, such as the dark fae, the Dralith, or red caps. Back then he used the Dralith lexicon as a means to try and debunk its practices. But what we did was go to the Akashic Records. This place has the knowledge of the multiverse, including egregoric universes crafted by the collective consciousness of man. However, it's at a lower quality, a lower dimension, but you see things that man has channeled before, like the Dralith. Eventually, you visit the Dark Akashic and discover what's real and what isn't. So, you will find out the existence about certain beings that have also been put in fiction, such as the Lich or Koshe. Every Bible I've said in the past speaks against necromancy because it ultimately leads to a person becoming half dead, undeath, knowing the truth about existence. You know the existence about the undead. My own ancestors refer to them as the Junbi. It's a form of undead Bokor. This is in Haiti. When I was visiting distant relatives, I was told not to go out at night in certain areas. Being the kid that I was, I saw the dead walk in the fucking streets being controlled by Junbi. He was looking for someone. And I think at the time they told me it was his rival he was looking for. He was trying to take his power. So this is why when I came to Mea Jiraiya's systems of magic, I immediately understood what the Lich was. And the Phylacteries, which Christian also thinks is a construct of an RPG called D&D. However, the original Phylactery was the Jewish Tefillin, which passed down in the Black Books. We had learned how they used them, how they made them properly. We had learned about Brennan before he was Azazel, and if you've ever come in contact with a real Tefillin, you realize that they actually do have a powerful connection to the divine, which holds many different prayers, spells, serving as a gateway they exchange for blessings and power. They pray and devote their energy to it. It can affect their health, wealth, and give them power. The phylactery, in some form or fashion, has been in many cultures, including my own. They have different form of these that can serve sometimes whole tribes. But I went to a different route for mine, solely for protection, empowered inside of a hollowed human bone, ancestral prayers, ingredients meant to protect me and harm my enemies. One of the main things I put on it, like many other protections, was anti-vampirism. This is like common for phylactery. And grand reversal magic, only known by Mea Jiraiya and initiated elders. But these type of things are why they have this misconception that the entities are fake in some form or fashion. But I've been doing this for many, many years. I've heard pretty much every form of current slander that I possibly could have heard. Like the current vampirizes you, I've heard, oh, it steals your guides. I've heard all kinds of dumb shit over the years from people who are mentally fucking unstable or have some sort of insecurity that they haven't worked through to regard it as fiction. This is why I stated in why Western sorcerers fail you. They have this tendency to revamp what's on Wikipedia, and if it isn't on Wikipedia, then it doesn't exist. I could name about 30 Loa who aren't listed on any form of Wikipedia, but that's the West. This is how they have that this misconception on pretty much everything we do. But this is I wanted to explain this is why people think that type of dumb shit, and this is why Eric was going through those troubles. But we ended up parting ways quite a few years ago because of that reason. I've had to stop that man from doing all types of crazy shit. Now the only people who are constantly stuck in their ways about him are the people who are the most obsessed about him. They have yet to get the proverbial dick out of their asses about Eric themselves. So I'm going to put up his little self-exile video as well, but that's all the shit he was going through. Eric had his fucking demons. And this isn't to say, people have this misconception that I've been just defending everything he had ever done, when we argued about most of that shit constantly. But I have to refilm a lot of videos. I have to continue to put my my older videos up as well. I think our haters as well have been essentially taking advantage of the fact that these videos aren't up and bringing other people who didn't know what Eric was going through. But most of the people that are in the dark happen to be apostates who don't know what the fuck happened. And if you don't, most of the things that we put forward about him is documented on the website. Now, I was going to include screenshots, as proof of what happened to his kid, but I'm pretty sure this would get taken down if I did that. But yeah, I'm going to put back up his self-exile video as well. You could tell there were clearly things he wanted to talk about in that video, and this is why we had our falling out, because I wanted him to explain what his kid and him were going through over the years. And he put up the self-exile video, which I was still unsatisfied, because we argued about the fucking relics and his services and the backlog. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say on Eric. He's been gone for quite a few years because of that reason. And Christian made this idiotic fucking comment about me not having anything to the name or claim over the books. It was a collective work between the Tower Imperators. Without him, he wasn't able to give us the royalties for the work we presented. So they're not going to be back up. I am working on a collective grimoire of every tower path working as well, and that takes time. I've only been AGM for a year now. That's a lot of work I have to catch up on. But that's why I would have to speak on his behalf, because his religion and so much more would get tossed in his face in court as well. But Christian knows damn well I wasn't claiming ownership. He's been known for cyber stalking and harassing people like a fucking jackass. That's the main reason why I mentioned opening up that case, because he attempted to have people enter the forums and take my copyrighted work. And this isn't the Mayor Rhyme books, it's shit that I've kept hidden. But we're going to never stay in the fucking past like our enemies. They're bound to it. And it seems like they will never get over Eric. I have no idea why, other than the shit fucking Eric was putting on them at the time. But no one here has had any dealings with Eric since we've crossed paths. Since we've ended up separating. But that's what he was going through. I've had to stop him from going and killing the man who was abusing his son and all kinds of shit. Since we parted ways, I do not know what fucking happened to him. He could have ended up in fucking prison for all I know. He was very on edge after he found out what that man was doing to his son and the abuse his kid was suffering. And Christian knew this as well, because we actually spoke about that on the phone. But this is why he was using all the damn money. All the money was going to his court cases. This is one of the reasons why the pre-ordered books weren't out, and just all of that bullshit that was going on with him. So I intend to teach the way our elders intended, just as a Black Lodge should. Each of them had schooled me on how things were supposed to be before they branded Eric as well. But I'm not gonna ramble on. I'm gonna upload this with the other videos as well, and eventually I will try to recover my older videos as well, like the aspects of our Oath and the tower videos.